Hello, and welcome to the Home Expo Podcast. My name is Tammie Hartman, and I am your host. I love bringing together homeowners and experts to share insights that make your home safer, smarter, and more enjoyable. Today, we're talking about something every homeowner shares about: fire safety. Traditional sprinkler systems can be intrusive and wasteful, but new innovations are changing the game. Our guest is an award-winning inventor and designer who created an intelligent fire suppression system that targets flames at their source while using less water, and created an intelligent fire suppression system that targets flames at their source while using far less water. If you're ready to learn how smart design can protect your home, stay tuned. Our guest today is Yusuf Muhammad, and he is a London-based industrial designer and engineer, co-founder and chief design officer of Plumas. He holds a master's degree in mechanical design engineering and a double master's in innovative design engineering from Imperial College London and the Royal College of Art. While still at university, he co-invented Automist, an intelligent mist-based fire suppression system that activates early and directs water precisely at the fire, using less water than traditional sprinklers. Yusuf has received numerous design awards, including the James Dyson Award, Red Dot Design Award, and he starred on the BBC Two series Big Life Fix, where he and other designers created life-changing solutions for people with unique challenges. As a public speaker and advocate for empathetic, human-centered design, he champions innovation that addresses real-world problems, such as making homes safer. So, Yusuf, I wanted to ask you, thank you so much for joining us. I know that it's really late in London and it's kind of early here in California, but I'm so glad that we were able to figure out the time. And that's what we do, right? We reach out, and it doesn't matter what it takes to make sure that people get the message. We want to make sure that we can collaborate. And so thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to ask you, you know, what are the origins of being innovative? I mean, you've had a lot of education, some early projects, and so what kind of led you to creating this design?
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. To start, I've had such a warm welcome from the sort of tiny home community, so many folks around the world, and I'm just delighted to now be able to offer this solution on your side of the pond. My story started over 15 years ago. As you correctly mentioned, I was studying at Imperial College and the Royal College of Art, and I was doing a project where we were coming up with solutions to solve problems. And Automist, the first version of the product, was my final year group project. And we went to the local fire brigade and we got talking to them about different technologies. And some of the firefighters highlighted that for certain types of fires, they would turn the hose to the mist setting, and it was a really powerful way of bringing down the temperatures. So I just really got super excited about the technology, and it just so happened that there was an International Water Mist Association conference taking place not too far from where we were based. Who know such groups exist, but they do. And I got talking to professors who've been studying these things for years, and it just seemed odd to me that this technology hadn't found its way into homes. So I guess the real inspiration and the real reason we kind of ended up where we did is that if you looked at the first patent for a traditional sprinkler system, it was done by a man called Thomas Grinnell in 1882, and you compare that to designs which are in homes all across the world, there's very little change. So it just felt like it was an area which was ripe for innovation.
Okay. And so, can you explain what Automist is and what it does, and how can Automist, the product itself, how does it work?
Gotcha. Okay, so we've basically reimagined the fire sprinkler. Fire sprinklers were developed uh, traditionally in factories. They were a commercial product to protect business continuity, and they are designed as such. So you've got big, bulky pipes. They use a lot of water. In a factory, gallons and gallons of water isn't as harmful as it is within a home, and you've got access to sort of greater water infrastructure. Um, so what we tried to do was design from the ground up what would a modern day equivalent be if it was designed specifically for the home. So we
Hmm.
came up with a device that you would mount on the wall.
Hmm.
Um, when your smoke alarm goes off, it scans the room. So effectively, you've got an electronic eye which is looking for the fire. And then if we determine that there's a dangerous fire within your home, we target that very specific location with water mist. So rather than gallons and gallons of water, we use 10 times less, focused only where it's needed.
Okay. And where does the water come from?
Uh, So we connect up to your existing water main. So rather than having a tank or sort of even having to upgrade your water supply to give you gallons and gallons, we can just run off less water than a shower would. And we were able to do that because we have a small but powerful pump that pressurizes the water. Then it's pushed sort of through our flexible piping and out our nozzle when it's required.
And it probably reduces water damage as well, right? I know that some people are worried not just about the fires, but the water damage after, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, and rightly so. It's a lot of water that is deployed from a traditional sprinkler when they activate. So part of our value proposition, part of the reason we've gained traction in the UK and we're doing so in the US is because we use about 10 times less water. So it's not going to flood your home in the same way. Whether it is your baseball card collection or your furnishings, we're going to focus our blade of water mist just where the fire is and minimize the damage, the consequential damage of putting out the fire.
And I'm sure insurance companies would be very happy to hear that, especially where we live in, or where I live in California. We've got some pretty significant fires that go on. And I mean, some people can't even get fire insurance. And if you can get fire insurance, it's ridiculously expensive. So maybe working with insurance companies would be an asset for homeowners and insurance companies to be safe. Would is that something that you're working on too? Is working with insurance companies in changing their policies with fire protection? Is that something that's on the table?
Absolutely, it's something that we've been doing for a while now. We were even approached by some insurers to address homes that were remote, perhaps more than 30 minutes away from the fire service, and perhaps it's a wooden construction, maybe it's a second home or a cabin. And those insurers were reluctant to insure some of these properties because if they had a fine, they were basically thinking it was a total loss if they didn't have a sprinkler installed. So in those situations, a system such as ours, which is easy to install, can even enable a policy in the first place. We've already started on the journey to sort of engage with the rest of the insurance community, and we are starting to see some of the carriers recognize a system such as ours where it minimizes the water damage, which is and the chance of leaks, which is one of the kind of critical costs or concerns for insurers, can be minimized through the technology.
Wow, that's wonderful. What about like integrating safety into like the home design? I mean, do you have some tips for architects or builders and homeowners for planning for fire safety on new builds and renovations without compromising aesthetics? I mean, I've seen the product myself, and I'm sure that um, you know, uh, people can go to your website and look at the product, but can you kind of describe how it can be incorporated into the design for homeowners?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's something that we want to, that we're really pushing. It's a wall-mounted spray head. I've actually got one of them beside me for
Mhm.
those who are watching the video. But this plate sits kind of alongside your light switches. They can be customized with different colors and different finishes so that they blend in. And then rather than having sort of any ceiling clutter with nozzles or discs on the ceiling, those can be avoided as you're leveraging this wall-mounted sensor to address the fire rather than what you would see with a traditional system. So that's something that we thought about. And I think the other thing to mention is because of the nature of the product, the size of all of the components are considerably smaller. So if you're thinking about a tiny home or an ADU, you're not going to have to compromise space for a tank or sort of mount elements of it outside of the unit, and take up storage space as well. Space is a premium in such places.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I believe that you did install many units in a like a tiny home village or in some kind of manufacturing. I mean, how is that going?
I think you're probably referring to Colorado, where we've done a load
Yes,
of
Colorado.
yes, indeed.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we've talked about a lot of these different places. Yeah, so we've done a lot of ADUs in Colorado, and there is a sprinkler requirement, and the system can be used as an alternative to a 13D system to meet code. And one of the kind of drivers has been, particularly where there's a modular builder, they're trying to maximize the amount of installation which can be done in the factory.
Mhm.
And because we use a flexible hose as opposed to a pipe, it means that the inspection of the joins, which is required in the building code, can either be done in the factory, and then the pipes can be pressure tested, or those hoses can be pulled through on site so that there's less finishing. So it's a little technical point, but it's been one of the drivers for these modular builders that it lends well to their processes and can save them cost. So yeah, we've done a lot of these tiny homes. The other thing I should mention is that sometimes those smaller properties also introduce a tapping fee or undergrounds where they have to connect the water pipe from the main house to the
Mhm.
ADU or to the tiny home.
Yes. Hmm.
And using a system that runs just off the standard domestic means you can kind of avoid that as well. So that's often can save the homeowner money with the city, and sometimes time delays as well, waiting for these things to be put in place.
Oh, I didn't know that. That sounds fabulous. And what is there like a heat grading system where if there is a fire somewhere, these components, are they fire resistant, fireproof? How do those work? You mentioned a flexible hose.
Yeah, so the whole system is UL listed. So we spent a lot of time going back and forth to the test lab in Northbrook and Chicago, and they basically tested everything. You can imagine in the fire safety space, before they allow you to sell anything, before a third party approval will put their name against something, they have to make sure that it's going to be reliable and it's going to work. So whether it's the hoses, whether it is resilience, against some of the different failure modes, whether it's tampering or aging. There's a whole
Mhm.
long list of tests and assessments that they had to do before they gave us this certification to
Mhm.
a new standard called UL 2167. And
Okay.
that um, is evidence, and is used in the approval process in order to help build building code. And it leverages a standard called NFPA 750. But I guess the thing that homeowners have to know is that it's been tried and tested, and that as a result makes it easier for the approval process when you're kind of explaining this to your AHJ or your um, fire marshal.
Okay. And is that a standardized certification internationally, or is it specific to the UK or the US?
Okay, it's specific to the US, so it's the
Okay.
NFPA 750 is the water mist standard that is referred to, and our our certification is a UL listing. So um, it's probably one of the most well recognized certification bodies across the US for fire safety systems.
Wow, that's awesome. You guys have come a long way.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, that's for sure.
Yes, I mean everything that you're passionate about always takes time, right? Because there's no straight line from point A to point B. There's it's like questions pop up and yeah, it's very amazing what you guys have done. What do you see like the real world impact would be? As far as, protecting homes, saving lines, or I'm sorry, saving lives. What are the lessons that you've learned from customer feedback and installations?
Okay, so I mean, we installed about 17,000 of these in and around the UK. And we've already saved multiple lives with the technology. So that's something that's, the team, myself, obviously, is super proud of. Um, uh, the other thing that we're really passionate about, and kind of even why we entered this space, is we really want to see fire suppression advance as a technology. Um, the fact that we use sensors to detect the fire means that we can operate some 2 to 14 times faster than a traditional sprinkler system. So it has some benefits in terms of life safety. So we'd love to see more systems that are leveraging sort of the best of what's available so that they can save more lives. And
Mhm.
then just thinking about sort of tiny homes and ADUs in general, um, it's such a growing category. It's something that I've been passionate about for a long time. I've always watched like tiny home videos for many years. I think there's I don't know. There's always a small part of me that loves the idea of kind of moving away from the big house and uh,
Yeah,
just having just what I need. I think there's so
yeah.
much. There can be so much excess. So what I love is this idea that this product can kind of feed into that space and be a useful tool to keep some of these types of properties safe, because people invest a lot of time and money making them their very own. They're all custom, and whether
Mhm.
it is the let's say the very specific nature of those types of buildings, sometimes where you've got a small loft,
Mhm.
or it's quite difficult to install sprinklers sometimes, or a safety
Right.
system where you've got just a loft where you can't really stand up. You might have to have multiple um, heads.
Mhm.
So the idea that we have a product now which is better suited for some of those challenges that they present. I love the idea of being able to encourage more building, because we have challenges getting accommodation for people all across the world. So
Mhm.
anything that can help facilitate that is I'd love to see.
Yeah, and the housing market is changing. We need affordable housing, and ADUs is so big right now in California, especially with older folks aging in place. I mean, people who are graduating from college and now they have all this debt. And so there are tiny home communities popping up, even in California. And we did get approved for tiny homes on wheels in West Sacramento, and of course in more northern California, because people want to travel and they want to be able to afford doing that. So not just having a fire extinguisher near the kitchen and having these systems, it's not just keeping our elderly safe, but it's also allowing other, people affordable housing, um, to have a home and have a safe home that is going to just help them live a better life. I mean, it's a great product. I'm I've seen it work. It's awesome. Um, so what are some advice for homeowners, like some practical steps for listeners uh, what are some practical steps that listeners can take right now to improve fire safety, from checking smoke detectors to planning escape routes and evaluating like suppression options if they can't get this product in their home right now, in their ADU, or their tiny home. What are some things that they can do right now, you think?
Okay. So I think the first thing to say is, so we've been working with Ferguson, the plumbing company. They distribute our product. So as a result, it should be available to sort of get a quotation and sort of an installation, regardless of where you are across the US. So I definitely recommend if you're in a region that requires it, or even if you're interested, you can speak to one of those reps and they can give you kind of a quotation as to protecting your space. So that's
Mm-hmm.
option one. Particularly in those regions where it's required, it's perhaps something to look at. It's not necessarily for every property, but we definitely feel that there's benefits in choosing it. But just in general, uh, um, I always think with fire safety, it's just about being as prepared as you can. You know, thinking about what you would do in an emergency situation. Um, Making sure you've got escape routes, working smoke alarms. These are the things that will always make a difference. Um, just being vigilant with even what you keep within those homes in your spaces as well.
Yeah, I mean, we all have to pay attention, right? I, for one, cannot have a candle in my home.
Mm.
I just, I light it, I forget about it, I walk away, you know. It's not a good idea for me. So for me, I would definitely need that. So I can enjoy a candle.
Yeah, it's like from being in the industry, I know too much. I know too much about what burns. That
Yes.
my wife has a go at me because when I go into hotels, I'm always like looking at where the escape routes are. I notice what alarm systems they have. It's um, but I think with the building code and modern construction, people don't necessarily have to be too worried. We have done quite a few installations here in the UK thinking about people who are aging in place. I think that is a category or group that really could benefit from additional fire safety, if particularly if it's difficult for them to sort of escape
Hmm.
unaided. But yeah, just being common sense, I'm sure you can keep yourself safe.
Yeah, no, don't light your candles.
Yeah, don't light your candles. Exactly right.
I have to be supervised. I don't know about anybody else. I wanted to also talk about encouraging innovation. Like, what are your thoughts on fostering creativity and problem solving in everyday life? Like, how can our listeners apply design thinking to their own projects?
Wow, that's great. I love the question. I think I'm super passionate about just design thinking in general. I spent a career trying to solve problems. And I think it's part of the reason that I like tiny home space in general, because there's so much creativity, so
Mm,
many different solutions. And I love the fact that um, more often than not, every unit is very individual. People
yes.
are thinking about the way in which they live. They're considering what are the items that I need to keep a hold of and they're important to me, and they're orientating their space around that. Um,
Hmm.
so I think just in terms of applying that, what I do even in the design process is I try to look as wide as possible at all of the solutions available, evaluate them, and then if it is possible, find a way to experiment or try or sort of dip your toe in, and then eventually settle on the solution that works best for you. So yeah, I think you keep your eyes and ears open, and eventually you're gonna find something that appeals.
Yes. And so I want to thank Yusuf for joining us today and talking about Automist and fire safety and innovative ways on how we can help those that are in maybe high fire situations or high fire areas. I know in California we have a lot of those. We have fire season, which everybody across the nation has a hurricane season or a typhoon season, but in California we have fire season all up and down. And I absolutely believe that this product could help save lives and homes and I mean, we've had the LA fires earlier this year. We've had Paradise fires a couple of years ago. We've had Tahoe burned down. And I think that it's not just about innovative ways on how to prevent fires and save lives, but it's also about preserving sustainability for housing and our forests, and really preserving lives, preserving our homes. And so again, Yusuf, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Fire safety is an essential part of home design, but it doesn't have to be intrusive or outdated. Yusuf shows how thoughtful engineering and a human-centered approach can create smarter, more efficient protections for our homes. By learning about innovations like Automist and taking simple preventative measures, homeowners can safeguard their families and property. Thank you for joining us on the Home Expo podcast. Don't forget to share this episode and someone who cares about fire safety. And if you would like to get in touch with Ferguson or Yusuf and get involved in this innovative way of saving lives and fire safety, you can absolutely go to his website and click all the links down below, subscribe so you can get more innovative ways on home design and fire safety. And we'd love to have you come back and talk to us about how this new movement is running through the US and the UK, and of course, all over the country and all over the world. So thank you again, Yusuf, for coming and joining us for the Home Expo podcast. And we will see you at Tiny Fest. Tiny Fest.
100%.
Yes, Tiny Fest is April 18th and 19th at the Orange County Event and Fairgrounds. It is in Costa Mesa, and we are so looking forward to seeing you there and seeing you at other shows so you can actually meet Yusuf and his team. They are so lovely in person. We were able to meet earlier this year, and we're so looking forward to seeing Automist really succeed in this industry of ADUs and tiny homes.
Thank you so much, Tammie. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to your listeners and for the help that you've given us. Just kind of, as a company from the UK, trying to understand the American market, network and connect with people. You've been really wonderful in helping kind of help us spread the message and get in front of folks. So can only thank you again. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thanks, Yusuf. Well, that's it for the Home Expo podcast. And you can absolutely find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Join us for our newsletter. And you can also catch us on our website, social media, all of the channels. And we'll see you next time on the Home Expo podcast. Bye.
Bye. Come to the next one. Come to the next one.